This is your boy Harrison, man, bringing you a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. How's everybody doing out there? Another beautiful day. I'm here in California chilling. You feel me? Another good day. I'm happy to be here with everybody. You know what I mean? Came to talk about a lot of stuff going on in the community, a lot of stuff going on with our people, family. So we're going to get right into it. If, do me a favor, family. If you're listening to the show on YouTube, please hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet. If you're watching it on Facebook, do the same thing. Like the video, share the video. If you're watching it on one of the digital platforms, the show is definitely on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, it's on Overcast, it's on Amazon Podcast. So everywhere you can find digital content, you can find the show there as well. Excuse me. So please do me a favor, and if you are watching it or listening to it rather on one of the digital platforms, leave a review. Right? When you leave a review, it positively affects the algorithm. So people in that world will be able to see what we're doing, gain more listeners, gain more influence. That's definitely the goal, family. So I'm happy to bring y'all a new show today, man. We're gonna get this thing popping. The topic of the show today is gonna discuss social media like TikTok and all of these applications that our children are bombarded with, and like some of the negative effects of it, and what we can do as parents. Because in my opinion, of course, um, yes, how you doing, Ruby? So of course, TikTok, social media, it affects all children. It affects everybody. Like all of us at times got to be cognizant about putting that damn phone down, right? But we got to understand for our children, it's even worse, family. For our children who don't have fully developed brains and they're still growing and dealing with all kind of issues, it's even worse. And for me, my personal opinion, for black children, it's even worse. If you are in an impoverished environment or if you're in an environment where you don't have much, you may rely even more so on social media, all these platforms. You may, for clout or for likes or attention, children do a lot of different things, right? So it's important that we control these narratives and control this environment just for our children's sake. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about a lot of news stories going on. Of course, the RIP to the young sister Makia Bryant, who was shot 4 times by an officer. We are gonna discuss that and the details behind that, and you know what I'm saying? Was the cop wrong? She had a knife in her hand, right? So we're gonna talk about all these things. We're gonna talk about nine kids that was shot in Louisiana, family. Thankfully, none of the kids died, but 9 kids shot in Louisiana, what seemingly is like some young black men on some street shit. So we're gonna discuss that. You feel me? The cop who shot Jacob Blake, Rustin Shiskey, is out, and well, not out. He never went to jail. He is not facing any disciplinary charges, so we're gonna touch on that just a little bit. So let's get everything popping, family. First things first, we're gonna go over these black businesses, right? Oh, and something else, right? I received some information. A couple brothers on my who commented on a couple of the black businesses that I've mentioned, right? And again, I appreciate anybody who comment, who whether it be good or bad. I don't necessarily block nobody unless it's obvious you have ill intent. Then I might just block your ass. You know what I mean? But anybody who come on my platform and you have something to say, good or bad. Like if you are articulate and you trying to get your point across, I'ma like your comment. I'ma respond back most of the times, good or bad. You know what I mean? But we live in a day and age kind of like what I'm going to speak about the internet. We live in this day and age where motherfuckers think they can talk to you anyway online, right? We not really showing the amount of respect we should because it's such a big gap in between the personal contact. Like a lot of the shit that I get online, like I know my soul tells me that you wouldn't say this shit to me if we was talking if we was talking one on one, right? If you was in my face talking to me, a lot of the shit you wouldn't say. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? We can continue to have conversations online. It's all healthy dialogue, but I'm not gonna let you be disrespectful. Now, I've talked. What I was gonna say is I've talked about some black businesses, and brothers have hit me like, "Hey, that's not a black-owned business, fam." And I appreciate all that type of input, but you gotta have proof, right? If you're gonna hit me about a website I'm promoting and you say, hey, Harrison, look, bro, that's a Chinese website. I'm gonna say, look, give me some receipts. Most of these people I promote, I reach out to them and just to have a brief dialogue. You know what I mean? So if you saying I'm stupid and I'm talking to somebody that ain't black, I mean, come on now. Give me some proof, and I am nowhere near beyond reproach. Like, everybody need to realize that. Anybody who want to be on YouTube, anybody who want to be in a position where you're sharing your thoughts and ideals for a living or for a hobby, you got to understand that sometimes you may put your foot in your mouth. Sometimes you may say some shit that is not, you may have done research but missed something, right? You can't be beyond reproach, and I'm not like that. So if I'm standing on something, it's for a reason. If you prove me wrong, I come on here and say I'm wrong. You feel me? So let's get to the black businesses, man. I'm excited. First black business. I just found this business, black-owned business, right? Just found this business. The website is called Melanin is Life, right? Again, under the video, I'll put all the information about how to contact the business and shop with the people. Melanin is Life. This is a clothing brand. On the website, there are, of course, shirts, designer shirts and sweaters for men, for children, for women, of course. There is a King's Collections, Queen's Collection, Black Excellence Collection, a Black Travel Collection. And most of these type of websites, I like them because really it's putting positive affirmations on clothing, right? We always talk about how much money we spend outside of our community, which all of us do. And I'm not even, you know what? I'm not even asking you to abandon everywhere else you shop. Like, to a degree, you could try to do that, and that's great as far as just spending all your money in the black community. Hopefully, we'll all get there one day, but that's not practical as it may seem, which is okay. So you can shop outside of our community. You can go to department stores. You can do all of that. Just make sure you circumvent a little bit of them funds back to our community with whoever you feel comfortable with, right? Like, me talking about the businesses is really just to put the shit on your mind. Like, you know what? I didn't like I didn't like that business he was talking about, or I don't feel comfortable, but you know what? I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna do my due diligence and find a black business, right? Then after you find them and you shop and you're happy, spread the word. Use your social media. Comment in a comment sections. Leave a review. Do all of this shit, right? Because a lot of times we are unrealistic about how a black business should present you products, right? And at the first sign of you not getting some shit the way you want it, you go right to social media and you say, oh, that's why I don't shop with black folk. That's why I don't. But we all know, living in the urban community, a lot of times we'll shop with Asians, we'll shop with Arabs. After they treat us like shit, we'll go back the next day. So let's keep that in mind, be contextual. But like I always say, man, we need a whole bunch of little black Wall Streets around this motherfucker. And the only way to get that is to shop with black businesses. We understand our buying power in America, right? Every race in this country spends a lot of money. Like, sometimes we focus on how much black folks spend, but all of us spend a lot of money. White folks, Asian folks, everybody spend a lot of money, right? The difference is we tend not to put that money back into our community, into our businesses, right? We don't see the quality in supporting black folks. So again, family, if you want to be revolutionary, if you want to be someone who stands up for your community, there's several ways to do that shit. And one of them is shopping with black businesses. Now, on the website, Melanin is Life, there are accessories, there's cups, there's mugs, a lot of different gear on here you can find. Let me see here. If you buy 2 items, you'll get a third item 50% off. You feel me? So that's Melanin is Life. Melanin is Life. Like, get yourself some clothing that represents our people. Like, I'm completely into that. Again, I'm gonna buy clothes from wherever at times, but I gotta have some gear in my closet that represents how I feel about my people, right? Like, we need to, and all of that to me is a sign of unity, right? To walk in, to walk into a room full of white folks with a shirt on that say I'm melanated and proud or some shit, you know what I mean? Black power, yeah. That's how we're supposed to be giving it up. You know what I mean? The same way in our community we have this gang association shit where sometimes people feel connected to the gang they from or the neighborhood they from, right? We need to get to a point where we feel connected to our community as a whole. So go to melaninIsLife.com, melaninIsLife.com. Get yourself some gear. A lot of fly gear on there. There's reviews about different things people have bought. And I'm going to try some of this stuff myself, you feel me? So let's keep it moving. Next black business. Let me see here. So that's melaninIsLife.com. Oh, by the way, I'm having my 3rd annual Father's Day softball game this year. third annual Father's Day softball game, and this is for everybody in the Sacramento area. I'm in Sacramento, California, having my third annual Father's Day softball game. At the game, we're gonna have food. We're gonna play a great game. We're gonna have a jump house. We got barbecue, we got music. It's gonna be a great time. If you participate in the game, you'll get a shirt to wear, you know what I mean? Just like we've done the past 2 years. Also, we open it up to everybody. Well, it's always been open to everybody, but I want to be clear that if you're a mom, a single mom, you can bring your son out. We take care of him. You can have him play in the game. You can play in the game. Like families come out as a family. Everybody can play in the game. It's for fathers and to celebrate our togetherness with our kids. It's to celebrate being around our family. It's to celebrate the importance of spending like some type of quality time with your children, right? But women are invited. You can come, you can play in the game. Even if there's no father around, come play in the game. Just your son or daughter being around a lot of masculine energy is always a good thing. We're also going to have a balloon release for all the fathers who aren't here anymore, all the fathers who can't be here anymore. So that's going to be a real special thing as well. So if you had a father who died, you got a father that's in a pen, like if something, because a lot of times this system has done a number on a lot of us, right? So if you got a father in jail or your son's father's in jail, whatever, he ain't getting out or whatever the case may be, come to the park with us, Woody Hampton Park, 7320 Florimont Drive, Woody Hampton Park. That's Father's Day, June 20th. All my Sacramento people, hope to see you there. You feel me? Now, next Black business. This is a book by my son, who is a community activist, and he's a rapper, and primarily has been a rapper. That's where we know him from. But lately, he's been more on his activism shit. This is a book he made for children. It's called I Know My Rights, the Bill of Rights, right? And it's written in a very simple term. This is important, family. This is important. Sometimes for Christmas or birthdays, we buy toys, or we buy shit that's gonna perish after a small amount of time, right? Clothing, all these things that don't mean shit after you buy it. We understand how important reading is for all of us, right? And this is the type of reading material that your children should have. So I Know My Rights, the Bill of Rights, and it's like in rap form, right? So it's damn near easy for a kid to remember, right? Because we talk about all this police brutality, the things that happen to us by the hands of this system. Even though, to know the Bill of Rights is one thing, but it's not like cops and and people involved in the system follow this shit to a T like they should. But in any case, we should be educated and know how this works. You can read it to your kids. You can have them read it themselves. But this is important, family. It's called I Know My Rights, the Bill of Rights. Yeah, and this is a really great book for children. So this is the second business of the day. Again, I'll put the link under this video on how you can purchase the book. But read. Reading is definitely important. Now, let's get to the news stories for the day. Family, the biggest thing I want to talk about, the first thing was on my mind, was like I was saying a few minutes ago, the killing of the 16-year-old sister, Ma'Khia Bryant, right? So Ma'Khia Bryant, she was basically in her neighborhood. She's a foster child. So she's at her foster house. It seems like a fight broke out. She actually called the police, and I'm going to get into my opinion about this in a minute, but she actually called the police. The police came. Once the police arrived, they seen her push a girl to the ground. They seen she had a knife in her hand, right? They seen she had a knife in her hand. From the looks of the video, she had the knife in her hand, about to possibly strike another young lady with the knife. Right? So it's a lot that we need to unpack here because, of course, RIP to the young sister. She shouldn't be dead. Like, regardless of what of course, she had a gun in her hand. I think you have to shoot somebody to kill him. But having a knife, I'm not completely sure if we shoot to kill if somebody has a knife. Like, this always brings the question, though, every time we see these police killings, because just like every time this happens, the people in this community, they're protesting, they're doing what they can, like when this shit always happens to us, right? But in this situation, the young sister did have a knife. Now, in my opinion, a lot of this starts with like transparency and empathy on the cops' part. In my opinion, this is why we need police in our neighborhoods that look like us. Like, we need to be policed by our own to a degree. Now, I'm not sure how much that would have changed the situation, but in my opinion, if a black police officer would have pulled up who knew her, right? If a black police officer pulled up who knew her, he could have spoken to her. He could have talked to her. He could have reasoned with her a little bit, right? Because it's unfortunate. When I first seen the video, I'm thinking, okay, you could have tased her, stun gun, billy club, something like that. But it's obvious cops aren't trained for combat like that. Cops aren't trained for combat. So you have a cop that's not trained for combat. Then you have a cop that's showing up to a black community. If you look at the video, it's hysteria going on. And all these white cops who've never been around us, this is important, family. All these cops who's never been around us, when they come into our environments and they see this type of hysteria, they're not used to it. So they're already on edge. So you got a nervous white man who never been around this kind of environment with a gun on his hip. Something bad's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So RIP to the young sister, and he shouldn't have shot her 4 times. It's a lot of reading news stories about all of these type of incidents. It's almost like when something like this happened, a cop has to shoot to kill, and that's a mistake, family. Like, shoot her in the knee, shoot her in the leg. I don't think many people, regular people, if you shoot somebody in the knee and they got a knife in their hand, they dropping that fucking knife. They're not finna continue with the knife. You know what I mean? So we shoot her 4 times, family. That's excessive. That's excessive. But so again, when you in our community, you thinking, okay, is he racist? We see the lack of empathy because Rittenhouse, the young kid who was walking around the protest with a goddamn AR-15, shooting people. Like, he actually shot people with an AR-15. He got arrested, family. He got arrested. They put him in handcuffs. I think they even gave him some goddamn water. You know what I mean? So many people are saying, okay, she had a knife. She should have been shot. It's not that easy when it comes to dealing with our community because we're not giving these cops the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, we don't trust police, family. So it's extremely difficult for us to give you the benefit of the doubt when time and time again we see you dealing with us with no empathy involved, no empathy, no compassion or any of that, right? So it's a lot to unpack with this because the sister, the 16-year-old girl, was a foster kid, right? And we know, I was reading an article about black kids are like 2 or 3 times more likely to be in a foster care system instead of white kids, right? And we know how violent. Anybody you've ever met that was in foster care, they'll tell you that it's a violent ass environment, right? So again, we dealing with systematic issues because of course parents need to be accountable. Like, why the hell is your kid in foster care, right? But then when we dealing with this system, you got to unpack everything. So were her parents on drugs? Is her dad in jail, right? And if that's the case, then we still dealing with some systematic issues. I think as black people, as melanated people, we need to be accountable of every fucking thing we do, but everybody does not have the wherewithal to maneuver through this system without getting caught up. It sounds easy to say, stay off drugs, stay out of jail, but the shit ain't that easy when our communities are targeted, right? So again, it did not say why she's in foster care, but it had to be some dysfunction in her family, right? If you got two loving parents, you're not finna go to foster care. So she's already in this violent ass environment, right? So again, I'm not sure in this situation they're actually gonna punish the cop because she did have a knife, and everybody, all the officials are saying it was like he followed the law to a T. They released the camera footage like 2 hours afterwards, maybe an hour afterwards, which further makes me think that they think he was in the right, because typically when they know some foul shit happened, it takes them a while. They doctor the video, they do all these other kind of things, right? So they released that video immediately, and I personally don't think anything's gonna happen to the cop, but again, in our community, we're dealing with a lack of empathy. We're dealing with these people who time and time again show us that they're not really there to protect and serve, right? Can we admit that? Like, when it comes to black communities, they're not really there to protect and serve us at all, and they show us time and time again. So when situations like this happen, we're not gonna be too empathetic with you. You feel me? We're not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt when we know typically you don't give us the benefit of the doubt. Now that's my overall opinion on that situation and that cop, right? However, right, when I'm watching this video, like it's okay to want justice from this system, like most of us do. Like, there's no problem with that at all, but everybody has to be held accountable. And I think also we need to get to a space where we're like self-policing, right? It's hella people crowded around, and we know, let's keep it real, Niggas like watching fights and shit. Now, maybe this got out of hand quickly, possibly, but niggas like watching fights. Why didn't somebody else step up? It seems like from every article I've read, the young sister is the one who called the police. Another no-no. Black family. If somebody ain't dying from a heart attack, if somebody don't have an ailment that you can't help them with at that time being, we shouldn't be calling the fucking police. And I know it sounds harsh, but look at the kind of shit that happened. She called the police and said some girls was at her jumper. They had a knife. You know what I mean? And as far as getting jumped, right? Once you get into a situation with somebody, because somebody was saying to me, well, she was getting jumped. She should have just fought back like they were fighting. Well, check it out, family. You can't control the art of war. Like, you can't control how war happens. You put your hands on somebody, you don't know how they finna come back. You don't know what they got. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not too mad at how she was trying to protect herself. But with everybody around, I'm sure, again, the video isn't completely clear. I seen people, but I couldn't, you know what I mean? If there was men around, we got to step in and stop that. There's no reason she should have called the police. Some adult around should have been able to step in. I'm sure motherfuckers had their phones out and everything. Some adult around should have been able to step in and say, hey, look, stop this. Hey, give me that knife. Somebody should have been able to intervene. Like, policing our own community, we got to figure out a way to get to that point, family. Because sometimes I've reported on multiple situations where the cops are called and we end up dead when the cops come, right? Multiple situations where the cops are called and we end up dead when the cops come. Family, we need to begin some community policing type environment, just like the Black Panthers and other groups who would go to the drug dealers and go to the hood niggas and make sure that they was all seeing eye to eye on what was supposed to happen. This could have happened the same way. So yes, the cop is wrong. The cop is wrong. He didn't approach the situation with the right attitude, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, now again, she was possibly about to stab another young person. So he is in a precarious situation. So I say, if you can't tase her, if you guys weren't trained to get up close to somebody and tase them, right? Because they have a weapon, cool. Shoot them in the knee. Shoot them in the... You can be trained on anything. Why not train them to shoot them somewhere that'll put them out without fucking killing them? Like, shooting to kill should only be if somebody got a gun. I'm tired of seeing cops shooting and killing people, especially us, primarily us, when there's no fucking gun involved. If there's no gun involved, shoot her in the arm. Shoot her. And I heard a police chief or somebody say, you know, people were saying he should have shot him. She should have shot her. He should have shot her in the leg or something, but it's not that simple. Why isn't it that simple if you're a trained professional? See, this is another problem where we got regular Joe Smoles on the goddamn police force. In my opinion, this is such a serious position. They should be trained for damn near a year. They should have ongoing training about how to prevent this type of shit from happening. They should have ongoing training about how to shoot people in the right place, how to physically get somebody off you. Like, in my opinion, cops should be hella in shape. They should be hella confident about their physical ability and their hands and their ability to use their hands in diffuse situations. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got these scary ass white boys, like I said, pulling up to a situation where it's all niggas. They already on edge because they're not familiar with us. It's gonna be nothing for them to grab that gun. You know what I mean? So, RIP to the young sister, man. Ultimately, she should not be dead. What's going on with that? RIP to the young sister. She definitely shouldn't be dead from this situation. But this is we gotta stop calling the fucking police, man. Like, and it's unfortunate. Like, it's definitely unfortunate, but we gotta figure out a way, man. Like, calling the police when all of these incidents happen, it's not the right way to go, family. You feel me? So RIP to the young sister. I'm not sure what type of justice we'll get from this situation because, like I said, she did have a knife in her hand, and whenever that's the case in these type of situations, the cop pretty much gets a goddamn pass. You know what I mean? So RIP to the sister Makia Bryant. RIP to the sister Makia Bryant. My lighting is kind of off. Okay. All right, let's keep it going, family. Next news story, right? And this is out of Louisiana, where 9 teens 9 teens were injured in a gunfight at a 12-year-old's birthday party in Louisiana. So let me break down how that happened. So 9 children were injured in a shootout at a 12-year-old's birthday party in Louisiana on Saturday, and police are struggling to get to the bottom of it because dozens of witnesses refused to talk, right? So authorities were called to the party for a report of shots fired on Saturday night in Laplace, Louisiana, according to the St. John Baptist Parish Sheriff's Office. They showed up to find 9 victims, because this is something that we have to address too, right? Like, we already have a system in play that disenfranchises us. We already have a system in play that attacks us at every turn, whether it be through our school system, whether it be through the prison system. Like, we have a lot of issues with this system. Like, we all can agree on that, right? But within our community, partially because of the systematic issues, we have this crabs in the barrel mentality where we begin attacking each other. And this is horrible because, look, family, 9 victims between the age of 12 and 17, right? So I'm thinking, were the shooters teenagers too? But let me finish reading the story. So they showed up to find 9 victims between the age of 12 and 17 with gunshot wounds. All of them were taken to the hospital, and 2 remained overnight due to the injuries. Police suspect the violence erupted out of a verbal argument between 2 rival groups of boys at the party. No suspects have been identified, and it was 60 witnesses, and none of them are gonna speak. So family, this brings up another point. What do we consider snitching in our neighborhoods, right? I think a lot of times we get the whole snitching moniker fucked up, right? In my opinion, and from everything that I know, right, you do a crime with somebody. Right, Rui, right. So you do a crime with somebody. Y'all do a crime. You guys agreed to be criminals, right? It's actually a really simple fucking concept. You guys agreed to be criminals, right? We do a crime. I get caught. You don't. I tell on your ass. I already agreed to be a goddamn criminal. Now I'm telling on your ass. That's a problem. That's snitching, family. We got 9 fucking babies. We got 9 babies shot. 9 babies shot, and nobody want to say nothing, right? 60 people there, and nobody want to say nothing. Now that's a problem. That's like a dysfunction in our community that we got to get rid of. Now I get it. Some people may feel their safety is in danger, right? If you live in a small community and the people, the street niggas who control the community find out who snitch, they may want to do something to you. Now this is a fact. So if somebody say, "Hey, I fear for my life," then okay. But is that all 60 people? It's 60 people there. They're gonna find out exactly who said something. Like, I'm not a street dude, but if you do a crime with somebody, and one of y'all tell, that's some sucker shit. You shouldn't have agreed to be a goddamn criminal. You shouldn't have signed up for the shit. But this is civilian. This is civilian work, right? Right? Maybe some of the young dudes who was there, maybe some of the 60 is some young dudes who from the street and they following the street code. Okay, I get it to a degree. But all 60 of them people weren't street individuals. Some of them was fucking civilians. And you mean to tell me 9 babies got shot and nobody gonna say nothing? Sometime we gotta come up off that shit. Now, thankfully, nobody was actually killed, but we need to say something, unless, just like I was saying in the last story, unless we gonna take this shit amongst ourselves and create some community justice, right? If we're gonna create some community justice, then I'm all for it. Then you say, nah, let's leave the cops out. We'll find these niggas ourselves. That's something different. But that's not what we be on in our community. We not unified enough to kick some shit like that. So family, somebody out of them 60 should be saying something. You feel me? So hopefully, or thankfully, none of these babies was shot. But the level of street activity that we have in our community these days, like how it's actually played out, right? It used to be, you don't shoot kids, you don't shoot old people, you don't shoot women. Like you don't harm not the weaker people in the community, but you don't harm civilians, basically, right? All that shit is out the window. Like, these is the crack babies of the crack babies of the crack babies. You know what I mean? In a lot of the hood situations that we face in our community, a lot of this shit is just getting worse. You know what I mean? So I'm happy none of these babies was actually killed, but we need to either inflict some hood justice where we go after some people, you know what I mean? Or people there need to say what's going on. Like people there need to say, hey, look, we seen who did it, put their ass in jail. And I'm thinking if everybody shot was between 12 and 17, because they say two groups of people, two groups of young dudes actually got there and they got to funking with each other, right? So I'm thinking that the shooters was probably the same age, right? So look what we're dealing with in our community where we got a 14 to 15-year-old dude. Now, again, this is allegedly. They don't say, they don't say how old the young dudes were. So this is allegedly. We got 15, 16-year-old dudes who's actually willing to actually shoot somebody based on an argument, right? So family, look, aside from the systematic shit that we have to deal with in our country, and again, like I always say, everybody doesn't really have the wherewithal to realize or understand how to maneuver away from drugs, how to maneuver away from some of the pitfalls that are in our community. But something has to be done. Like something has to be done. Like, and again, I don't do the whole black on black crime shit because I understand crime is based on proximity. Whoever you're around is who you're gonna hurt. You know what I mean? They try to push that shit on our community, but white people kill white people more than everybody else. Asians kill Asians. That's just how it works. But if we are to put the system to the side for a second, we do need to figure out a way, because these young dudes being 15, 16, going to a party with a gun, I'm really curious to know how many of these young dudes come from solid households, right? How many of these young dudes come from households where it's a mom and a dad and it's a lot of love? See, we're in a generation now, we gotta be honest, again, the system has played a part in this, but we need to be accountable too. We're in a situation now where we got a lot of young dudes being raised by their grandma, right? Being raised by their auntie, being raised by people who aren't their parents. So if you got a young dude in this traumatic ass upbringing, he's gonna go wherever he feels love. He's gonna go wherever he feels like a community vibe. And if it ain't no positive shit going on around, it's gonna end up being something negative. You see what I'm saying? But 9 people between the ages of 12 and 17 getting shot is some bullshit. And like I always say, look, when we look at these police killings and how we get treated by police and everything that goes on with law enforcement, these cops shoot us, and I ain't never seen no gang go after one of the cops. You know what I mean? From no city. I ain't never seen that shit happen. So at the end of the day, I know the systematic shit we've been through, but I don't respect that street shit. That's supposed to be, I understand young dudes are in situations where they have no family, they have no resources, so they're not forced, but selling drugs appears to be the best option because your stomach is growling. I understand all that, but something got to change. You see what I'm saying? And we can't keep saying, okay, the system. It's up for us as parents and adults to begin to help these young people navigate away from this system. Like, make sure they understand exactly what they facing. You know what I mean? Because 9 young people getting shot is some bullshit. Like 9 young people getting shot should never fucking happen. You know what I mean? And we continually see young people resorting to this type of violence with bigger guns, with more rounds, all type of shit. You know what I mean? Where in actuality, if a fight would have broke out, like, that would have been cool, right? If they would have just fought it out, I mean, wouldn't have been nobody shot. Everybody would have been able to get up. You can get up and continue partying. You know what I mean? Like, the art of physical combat, like, these young niggas ain't got no inclination of how that actually works. Most of these young dudes they'll be quick to shoot you, but they ain't gonna fight nobody. You know what I mean? So we got a lot of shit to unpack in our community, and it's the police, and it's how we're treated by the system. But we gotta not add to that by doing fuck shit like this. You know what I mean? Now, couple other news stories, just real quickly. Oh, hold on one second. Where is it? Okay, so something else that hurt my heart, man. So in Chicago, a 7-year-old girl was killed in a shooting outside of a McDonald's, right? So a 7-year-old girl was killed Sunday during a shooting outside a McDonald's restaurant in Chicago, police said. The girl, Jaslyn Adams, rest in peace to that young sister. Rest in peace to that young sister. Her name is Jalen, I'm mispronouncing the name. Jalen Adams and her 28-year-old father, John Tay Adams, were in a car just after 4 p.m. at the McDonald's on City on the city's west side when two men got out of another car and began shooting at them, according to authorities, right? So LaWanda McMullen, Jonte Adams' mother, told the Chicago Sun-Times her son frantically called her moments after being shot and basically told her, "Mama, come get me. Somebody done shot my baby." Now, the child was shot several times during the attack, family. She was shot several times during the attack, police say, and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Now, Adams was also shot more than once, and he was listed in serious condition as of Monday, right? Police believe the incident was gang-related and connected to a second shooting at a Popeyes restaurant in Humboldt Park just hours later, right? There, a 33-year-old man and a 19-year-old woman were in a blue Malibu when they were shot and injured while sitting in the drive-thru. So here's the thing about the Chicago violence, right? So again, like the other story I was talking about, these young dudes got to come to grips with being around each other. Like, they got to try to create some type of unification opposed to always attacking each other. But before I get into the story or get into my opinion about everything, look, I'm of the belief that some of the gang violence in Chicago is kind of allowed to happen by the police. Like, if you say there was 100, because there has been weekends, right, where they'll say there was 100 fucking shootings in one weekend. In my opinion, family, if there was 100 shootings in a white community, they would shut the whole goddamn community down. They would shut the whole goddamn community down until they find whoever was in charge of doing this shit, right? So, of course, we can never take some of the accountability off of ourselves, but is the Chicago Police Department doing everything they can to curb the violence? I can't be sure that's actually happening, family, especially keeping in mind that Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in the country, if not the most segregated city in the country, right? So these communities, like the west side of Chicago, is like all black. All black, all black, all black, all black. Little sprinkles of other shit, but primarily all black, right? So sometimes, in my opinion, I'm like, they feeling, you know what I mean? Let these niggas kill each other. You know what I mean? That's not to excuse our actions, but I don't know if Chicago PD is doing everything they can to actually curb some of this violence. And regardless, and how this actually works out, right? If this father was an innocent bystander, because they said they got out of the car to get him and shot the car up a whole bunch of times. To me, that looks like some shit he was involved in and they just came to get him, right? But let's just say, if the father was an innocent bystander, then by all accounts, this was completely wrong of him to get attacked like this, especially with his baby in the car, right? However, if the father was on some street shit himself, then shame on him. If the father was in the street himself, if he's a street dude and he was in the street himself, then shame on him. This is partially his fault too. If he is street dude, he got to assume some shit like this may happen, because the way they came to the car, they shot the car up like a motherfucker, right? So in my opinion, that's vengeance. Like, they was coming for the right person. I'm thinking this wasn't no mistaken identity type shit. But in all accounts, the 7-year-old baby is gone by the hands of somebody black. Like, I say all that to say, even though we have problems with this system, even though we have different elements that, like, again, speaking about Chicago's, to me, their gang violence and everything they go through was put in motion. You know what I mean? I think that was put in motion by the racism. Like, most of the things that we go through, family, I'm always going to say that as black folks, as melanated folks, we should be accountable for shit. But a lot of times, this system has put things in play, and now we're just on autopilot. You know what I mean? I've done on my YouTube channel, Melanated Fathers TV, I have some history videos on there about different riots that have taken place in Chicago, race riots. Like, they specifically put the black people there in a particular place, and we all should understand how underserved communities are treated, like how they're policed, how they are lacking resources and all this shit, right? So it's unfortunate that a 7-year old baby had to lose her life. It's unfortunate that a 7-year-old baby had to lose her life. And again, if the father was innocent, I'm praying for that brother, him and the mother, that they can figure out a way to become peaceful after this or bring peace to this, because losing your 7-year-old child is some horrible shit, whether he was in the street or not. But everybody has to be accountable when shit like this happen. And it's unfortunate, but if he was a street dude, he didn't. Don't have your baby in the car with you. If you understand how niggas is rocking out here, don't have the baby in the car with you because the little girl was 7 years old. You see what I'm saying? So your 7-year-old get killed. Again, if you were innocent bystander, shame on the niggas who didn't make sure they was hitting the right person. But if the father is a street dude, then shame on you too for putting your baby in that situation. You know what I mean? Because honestly, y'all, I'm empathetic to a degree of the street niggas in our community, because my brothers were street dudes, right? Like the money that they made, because my mother was sick, the money that they made provided a lifestyle for us. Like without them doing what they did, there were certain nights that we wouldn't have ate. Like that's just real shit. So I'm empathetic to that lifestyle, and I understand how that lifestyle is formulated. But at the end of the day, we need to realize that there should be an exit plan. For everybody in that life, there needs to be an exit plan. Go talk to somebody 45, 50 years old that's in the pen. They're going to tell you the same shit. You shouldn't be in the street. It ain't nothing out there for you. Like everybody had that same story, but the young dude sometime got to see that shit for themselves, and ultimately everybody don't come back from the mistakes they make. You know what I mean? You got to see it yourself, where you still may end up having to do a long stretch or getting shot yourself, or unfortunately either losing your life. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of shit we got to unpack in our community. And a lot of times it all starts with this system. Like this system have set in motion a lot of it has caused like the after effects of systematic racism is in our face. You know what I mean? And like I said, everybody don't have the wherewithal to maneuver away from that. Like everybody don't have the wherewithal to say, okay, I'm in a community where it's a whole bunch of drugs, there's a whole bunch of street shit going on. I'm gonna make sure I go get a job. I'm gonna make sure I stay in school. That happens. That definitely happens. But everybody isn't strong enough to do that. Everybody isn't strong-willed enough to do that. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, the police genocide and the school to prison pipeline, all these things are true, and all these things attack our community, but we can't make it worse, family. We can't make it worse by contributing to our own demise. And that's what a lot of these young niggas is doing. You feel me? So RIP to the young 7-year-old sister, Jalen Adams, who was killed in a senseless murder in Chicago. You feel me? Sorry about that, son, y'all, but I had to get it in. I got an interview later, so I had to start the show now. This is a typical spot I do my show in, but the sun is kind of coming in. It's reflecting off my light, but we're going to keep this thing rocking. Now let's go. Oh, one last thing I want to talk about as far as news stories are concerned. So the cop, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, everybody do me a favor, subscribe to the Melanated Fathers YouTube channel if you have not done that already. If you're listening to this on one of the digital platforms, Overcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of these places, please do me a favor and leave a review. Leave a review. I don't mind if you leave a review that's constructive. I'm not going to call it negative, but if it's constructive, if it's something you think I should be doing differently, or there's something about the sound or anything, all comments are welcome, right? So if you're on one of the digital platforms, please do me a favor. If you're on one of the digital platforms, please do me a favor and leave a review on the show. Let me get some of this sun out our face, family. If you're on one of the digital platforms, please leave a review of the show. That definitely helps out. It positively affects the algorithm. So more people will be alerted. More people will know about the show. Gaining a bigger audience is always the goal, right? If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube page. You'll be able to see this show. You'll be able to see interviews that I do with people around the community, whether it be an entertainer, whether it be an author, whether it be entertainer, author, whether it be I'm interviewing a chef a little bit later, like any black man or woman who is trying their hard to positively affect our community with their creativity. I'm always intrigued by that. And, I always tell people, like, there's nothing wrong with having a job, right? There's nothing wrong with being the kind of person who has to work. We all have to work to a degree, right? Nothing wrong with having a job. But everybody needs to realize you don't want to spend your whole life doing some shit you don't like. Or you don't want to spend your whole life not following your passion, right? So when I find people who are passionate about something that they're creating, I get behind that because I think that's the beauty of life. Like this hamster wheel that the United States has put us on, where you get a job, you have the job for 50 years, you end up dying, you know what I mean, working for somebody else. That's kind of bullshit, family. And again, sorry for the lighting. Sorry for the lighting right now, family. I have my light on, but sun's coming in here. Sorry about the lighting. We're gonna keep on pushing though. So do something for yourself. Whether that be some community activism, whether that be starting your own business. Like people talk about starting businesses all the time, but everybody's not a business person. Like we need to be honest about that. Just telling everybody to start a business, that shit really ain't gonna work as much. You see what I'm saying? So even if it ain't starting a business, be creative. Maybe you like writing. Maybe you like drawing. Maybe you like working out, teaching people how to work out. Maybe you like being a social media influencer, right? There's so many different ways today in today's society. There's so many different ways to be effective. There's so many different ways to be effective, family. So try something new. I don't want any of you guys to become an old person and realize you didn't chase your dream, whatever that may be. That's the beauty of kids, family. That's the beauty of young people. Young people have figured it out. You know what I mean? Young people dream. Young people have all these goals and aspirations. It feels like once you get to a certain age, that shit just dies and you just become dormant in whatever career you chose. Now, some of us are lucky enough to have chosen a career that you love and you getting paid for doing something you love. Unfortunately, that shit is rare. You know what I mean? Most people are working and doing what they got to do to make ends meet. So if you can find something that's yours and find something that you really enjoy doing, even if it don't pay you, do that shit, man. None of us know how long we got to be here. Like that's just an honest take. Any of us can go at any time, right? My family owns a funeral home. My girl owns a funeral home. And I've lost both of my parents, you know what I mean? So that part of life has always been evident to me, family. You don't know how long you got to be here. You don't know how this shit is going to end for you. And I think the worst thing that can happen to any adult is to become of age and live with regrets. Like I should have did this. I should have did that. Fuck all that. Do that shit now. Start today. You should have started yesterday. You feel me? So, last news story. Rustin Shishki is the Kenosha officer who shot Jacob Blake. Now, if you guys don't remember, Jacob Blake was the young man who, I think he was fighting, the specifics of the story are a little bit sketchy to me. I think he was fighting with his girlfriend or he was having a disagreement with somebody. The police showed up. They was trying to hold the brother there. He went to his car while his back was turned. I think this cop shot him like 7 times. Yeah, I think the cop shot him like 7 times, leaving him paralyzed. You know what I mean? Again, another one of those unjust situations. Now, they were saying he had a gun. He ended up not having a gun. They're saying he had a knife, right? They said he had a knife. I think they found like a knife on the ground, but there's no guarantee that he was actually going for the knife. Even if he was, we're back to the same situation about empathy and why he was shot so many times. Important part of that story is they showed in 3 minutes he was dead, right? So where is the empathy? Like, where is the compassion? Where is the conversational piece, right? You show up and 3 minutes later he's dead. Now Jacob Blake is in a goddamn wheelchair and this cop is back on the force. So what this says to me, we just seen Derek Chauvin get convicted, right? And we're waiting to see his sentencing. That's a great thing. Like I haven't been celebrating as much as I maybe want to because we don't know what's gonna happen with that. Like we don't know how much time he's gonna get. We may be completely disappointed with the amount of time that he actually has to spend in jail. We don't know. So we need to relax and see what actually happens with that. But this is a situation that has the negative effect, that has the opposite effect, I mean. Because this cop not going to jail, nothing happening to him, to me, that emboldens other officers to feel like, shit, all I gotta say is they got a knife. All I gotta do is produce just cause, and I'm gonna get off too. You know what I mean? So you shoot an unarmed person, you should not only lose your job, family, but there should be jail time. So this guy is back on the force, won't face any disciplinary action, and I think that sets a bad precedent in that area. You feel me? So let me see here, man. Let me get this thing popping. Let me try to adjust my light real quick, Ruby. Hold on one second. There we go. No, I don't think that's going to affect it. Nope, we got to just rock out. So, all right, topic of the day, right? Topic of the day, because, like, our children have a lot more to deal with than we did at their age, right? So we need to be cognizant of that, right? Like, if we had social media, if we had smartphones when we were children, we would be doing some of the same shit. That's why I'm not quick to judge our babies who be on their phone all the time or be all on the internet doing all kind of wild shit. We need to be honest. When I was 12, goddammit, if I had a smartphone, I'd be doing the same shit these kids is doing. You know what I mean? But we got to look at this and try our best to help out, right? Because our children, if your kid is on TikTok, if your kid got a social media account, if your kid is on YouTube, if your kid is doing any of these things, family, you gotta monitor that shit. You gotta monitor that shit because that can come with a lot of different things. That can come with anxiety. That can come with depression. That can come with them wanting to fit in, like in the need to fit in will make them do all type of sucker shit. You know what I mean? So again, we have to be realistic. Any parent who says my kid's never gonna have a phone or to the point where you completely don't understand what these kids are going through, you're being dishonest. You're being intellectually dishonest. If we were 12 or 13 and there were smartphones, all of us would have iPhones. Keep that shit real. And we'd be doing the same thing some of these kids is doing. You know what I mean? But it's up to us to not only monitor what they're doing, but like be okay with taking that phone sometime. You know what I mean? Be okay with removing the phone, putting the book in its place, removing the phone, making sure they go outside. Now, I was always thankful to have 5 boys, and even if they had phones, they would still go outside. Like, they still wanted to do regular boy shit. They still wanted to play. They still wanted to go outside and play basketball. If you got the kind of kid that never goes outside, only plays video games and be on their phone, you creating a socially awkward little motherfucker. Excuse my French. But you creating a socially awkward being. You know what I mean? That's why you got all these kids. And I'll see, even doing this YouTube shit or being in a position where I'm talking to people, I see a lot of times in the comments even, dealing with people who aren't used to social interactions, they don't know how to handle it. Like, they're hella disrespectful. You know what I mean? I always tell people, you should talk on the internet in somebody's comments. If you want to comment on a video or if you want to be a person talking or whatever, you should treat the internet like whoever you're talking to is right in front of your face. I'm not finna go in nobody's comments and say some wild shit that I wouldn't say when I was right in their face, but this generation don't have that. Just this generation has that gap between social interaction and what's real and what's fake, like what's actually on the internet. You know what I mean? But as parents, like, I can't put this all on kids. This shit is our fault. You know what I mean? Like, you can take that phone. Your kid don't have to have a phone. Your kid not doing what you want them to do. They're not reading enough. They're not cleaning their room. They're not abiding by whatever your rules may be. Take that goddamn phone. See what I'm saying? Take the phone. See what's in the phone. You know what I mean? Take the phone. See what they're doing in the phone. See which social media platforms they like. See which social media platforms they interact with, right? Like, this is some shit that we should be doing for our children, because all children, I think, regardless of race, all children have these problems with social media, or have these problems with the internet where they can get caught up in it, whether it be for popularity, whether it be like social bullying and shit. So it's up to us to make sure your kids are confident. It's up to us to make sure you talk to them about real life events. Like, sometimes kids will use their phone, like they'll use social media for all the information that they need. You know what I mean? That's you. It's up to you to hear them give you that information, and you gotta say, nah, go research this, go research that. Like, we gotta do a better job of separating reality from whatever is on the goddamn internet. You know what I mean? Because if you dealing with a kid who don't have a lot of confidence, who may have self-esteem issues, then a lot of things can happen online that you don't know about. Whether they get preyed on if it's a little girl or even a little boy, right? Or if they get preyed on, if they deal with some bullying shit, if they dealing with all type of things that happen on the internet, as a household, you got to address these things. If you got a little bitty kid with a phone and they like TikTok and all this shit, put the parent restrictions on it. Like, I don't even think a kid a certain age should have access to a phone. But if you give them a phone, then you got to put restrictions on it. You got to make sure that they not going on different sites or going places where, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of predators online too. There's a lot of old niggas online who waiting for a kid to sign up for these dating sites or sign up for these different little sites. You know what I mean? We see stories all the time about dudes getting caught going into a 13-year-old's DM and all this shit. So the internet is like a horrible place. It's a lot of beautiful things that have come from the internet, but ultimately it's like some horrible shit that going on the internet. And we, for the most part, because we fall into some bullshit too, but for the most part, we're old enough to discern what we're looking at and contextualize what's actually going on, right? Our kids don't have that ability, family. You see what I'm saying? Our kids don't have that. Our kids don't have that ability. So it's up to us to pull that phone away. It's up to us to make sure they reading, make sure they doing good in school. Because I can only imagine having a cell phone at 12, 13 years old, family. Who knows how I would have done in school? Who knows how productive I would have been? Because you got so much in your damn pocket. These little boys, you wonder why he not doing good in math or he not doing good in a particular class when he got like pussy right in his pocket. He can look at anything on that phone. You know what I mean? We used to watch porn. We used to have to wait till HBO came on late at night. We used to have to sneak the goddamn tapes, or we had like the magazines. It was a whole process you had to go through, right? Not just picking up a device, clicking a button and looking right at it. You know what I mean? So as again, all kids are affected by this, but our babies, because of everything else we have to go through in this society, our babies have it a little worse, in my opinion, family. Especially if you have a young black kid coming from an impoverished community where they don't have much, so they're probably relying on the pleasures of that phone a little bit more. Whether it be a social media account, whether it be them creating like an online persona. Like I was saying a few minutes ago, I be having, and I'm assuming these are young dudes. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming these are young dudes who be coming at me faulty online, like in my comments talking all kind of shit. To me, that's a result of this generation, right? That's a result of this generation and not being socially interactive. So you think you can say whatever the fuck you want to say because you haven't been held accountable. You see what I'm saying? So it's up to us as parents is to narrow this shit as much as we can and just be involved and make sure they're doing other things besides being on that phone. Like I always tell people, your house is like your small little community. You know what I mean? Like you can, whatever you want to teach, whatever structure, whatever habits, whatever systems you want to put in place, you do that shit inside of your home, and your kid brings that wherever they go. You see what I'm saying? So it's up to us to kind of correct that, family. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. Like I said, if you're on social, if you're looking at this on Facebook, please like the video, share the video. If you're listening to it on one of the digital platforms, like it on whatever digital platform you're listening to this on. Like the video, leave a review for your boy. If you listen it or if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button as well. Please subscribe to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube channel. Like I said, June 20th, we're having our third annual softball game again. That's June 20th, third annual softball game again. The whole family is invited. Bring the family out. I'll continue to post a flyer and post information about it. I'm in the Sacramento area. I'm in Sacramento, California, so that's where the softball game will be held. It is our third annual event. I want to thank everybody for watching the show. Shout out to my girl Ruby for checking everything out. I'm going to continue to bring y'all content, man. I'm going to continue to speak truth to power like we all should be doing, family. You know what I mean? This has been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm out.